Hey there, my name's Seamus, and I'm going to show you how to make a shoegaze track. I play in two bands in Montreal called Baby Teeth and Fleeting Colors. From guitar effects to drum programming to mixing, I'll cover how to make this in any DAW. Okay, first I've got my guitar. A lot of chord progressions in shoegaze often use suspended, add 9, and major 7 chords to get that open, dreamy sound. In the track I'm about to show you, I use these chords. C sharp minor 9, E major 9, and B major 9. To start off this track, I made an 8-bar loop of these chords with one take on the left and one take on the right. You'll notice in the tracks I just played, there's a bit of a warble in the guitar tone. This is due to the tremolo arm, or whammy bar. Bending this while you're playing adds a signature sort of modulation to the rhythm of your guitar strumming. A lot of shoegazers would call this technique glide guitar. Now that I've got these rhythm guitars down, I want to add some atmosphere to this track to create a sense of space and tension. I'm going to be using some sounds from this sample pack called Haze that I found on LANDR samples, which has a lot of great sounds for making shoegaze and dream pop. I found this sample that I really like in the pack, so all I'll need to do is pitch it up so that it matches the key of our song. I know our song's in A flat minor, so I'm going to be pitching it up just 1/2 step. From here, we can drag it directly into the track. So I've taken this sample and I've looped it and then bounced it with a little bit of a fade at the beginning to get a nice swell into our song. Let's hear how it sounds. Now that we've got our rhythm guitar and atmosphere sample, I want to find some drums to go along with this track. To do that, we're going to go right back to the Haze sample pack and filter for drums. So we're going to loop the tracks that we have and play a couple of these drum samples along with our rhythm guitar and atmosphere sample to see which ones fit best. Yeah, I'm really liking that last sound. It fits really well with our guitars so far. While I was looking through the sample pack, I found this nice lead melody that fits really well with the tracks we have. Pretty cool, right? I think it adds a nice hook to the tracks we have. Alright, so far we've got drums, rhythm guitar, lead guitar, and an atmosphere sample. Let's break down how I process these for the intro. We've got 2 clean guitars panned to the left and right with an atmosphere sample down the middle. And then in the last bar, we'll add the drums. For these drums, we've got a bandpass filter for that lo-fi sound with a little bit of echo just to create a spacey sort of feel. For the atmosphere sample, we're leaving that clean for now. Our rhythm guitars will also remain clean, but with a low-cut EQ to cut out any muddy low-end frequencies that might muddy up the mix. We're also going to put a bandpass filter on the lead guitar to keep a consistent lo-fi feel to this section before we move into the next one. For that next section, we're going to use the same tracks as the intro, but process them to create that wall of sound that shoegaze is known for. For the drums, we're going to be using the same sample, but dropping the bandpass filter and adding a new EQ so that they punch a bit more in this next section. So the one sort of finishing touch that I didn't mention already about this wall of sound section is this tambourine that's added along with the drums. I really love this trick when it comes to making shoegaze. It adds so much movement. For the rhythm guitar, we're going to use the exact same tracks as the intro, only with a distortion plugin added. I'm using the Eventide Crustacean here because this does a really good job at making these guitars sound huge. For the lead guitar part, we're going to do the exact same thing as we did for the drums. We're just going to remove the bandpass filter and add a bit of an EQ so it cuts through the mix a bit more. There is some more advanced processing on these tracks, including lush reverbs and delays, but we're going to get to that in a bit. Listening back to this track, we obviously want some vocals in there. I came up with this vocal melody that I thought worked really well with the rest of the instruments that we have going on right now. Now with everything else coming in that big wall of sound section, the only thing that we're missing is a bass. For this bass track, I mainly followed root notes while trying to also incorporate some octaves and some slides just to create a little bit more movement within the part. For processing, the first thing this is hitting is the GK amplifier, and next the U73B compressor, both of which are available on LANDR Studio. The last thing processing this bass is the crush station distortion, just to give it a little bit more texture. That covers the bulk of the arrangement. Let's talk about more advanced processing now. Maybe the most iconic effect used in Shoegaze is reverse reverb. We're going to look at a few key features to make this effect sound as good as possible. Since it's on a bus, we're going to remove all the dry signal and set the wet to 100 to ensure it's purely just reverb on this bus. Next, we're going to essentially cut out all of the low frequencies. I have it here set to -100, as low as it can go. This just ensures that there's no extra mud in that low end with all of the other elements that are working in your mix. My favorite part about this plugin is that you can set your attack time to the precise amount of milliseconds that you want, which allows you to get it precisely in sync with the rest of your track. Here, our track is 120 BPM. This equates to a half measure being 1,000 milliseconds long. Setting our attack to 1,000 milliseconds ensures that each reverb wave will be coming every half measure. So it keeps it in sync, it's in a nice wash, and it works well with the rest of your tracks. Here's how our reverse reverb sounds on the rhythm guitars. A great part about using this effect as a bus is that you can use it from multiple tracks at a time. Here, we're going to be sending mostly our rhythm guitars to this track. However, we're also going to blend a bit of the atmosphere sample and some of the lead sample as well, so everything's sort of glued together, being processed by the same washy reverb. Right next to it, we've got a different reverb, which a lot of the lead guitars are sent to. This is using a Logic plugin called Reverb. Here you can see we have a 15-second decay, so quite a long time. Again, 100% wet mix, 0 dry, 100% distance, 100% density, 100% size, and about 45% attack. So this gives you that big airy reverb that fills up a lot of space, so just be careful to manage the EQ to prevent any buildup of that low end. Next up, we've got our tape delay. This might be my favorite effect in making this kind of music. It allows a lot of different guitar parts, especially lead guitar parts, to blend really well together, especially when you're sending multiple guitars to the same bus. So here, we just have the Logic stock tape delay. It's a quarter note, again, typical dry wet mix. Honestly, a lot of these settings are stock that just come in the default when you open the plugin. I think I might have even just used a preset here. Even just like quarter note delays on multiple guitar tracks just sort of allows everything to dance around each other in a very nice way. So next up, this is our first bus that isn't a time-based effect, meaning it's not a delay, it's not a reverb. This is just to add a bit of dynamic punch to our mix. This is referred to as a technique called sidechain compression. Logic has a bunch of good compressors in their compressor stock plugin. I really like their Studio FET for this kind of stuff. It is compressing the tracks that you send to it based on a trigger. And generally you want that trigger to be drums. Right here, we've got a pretty medium attack, fast release. So it's really just grabbing the signal and sort of making that punch sound by just squeezing the tracks around the drums. I have our rhythm guitars sent to this sidechain compression and a little bit of the bass. Effects like sidechain compression are a bit of a case-by-case tool. You'll notice in the 90s, bands like Slowdive, you're not hearing any sidechain compression. It's very open, it's very big, it's very spacey. Nowadays, if you're listening to more music on playlists like Shoegaze now, you'll hear artists like Flying Fish and Quonic using a lot of sidechain compression to create a ton of energy off their kick. Sidechain compression, when used correctly, can be a really good tool to bring the groove out of your mix. Our next bus is another reverb bus for our vocals this time. All of our vocal tracks are going to be sent to this, and LANDR has a great plugin for vocal reverbs. I really like adding a lot of air, a medium amount of body, and a long decay time to create that breezy, ethereal effect on the vocals. I think the coolest part about a video like this is that everything is made in the box. These are all stock plugins that come with Logic or LANDR Studio Pro, and all I used was a guitar, a bass, and an interface. I had a good time making this, and I hope you learned something cool. Like and subscribe for more content like this.